Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here. However, I just realized it doesn't look like my videos are playing, or my audio is playing through. Hold on one second. Let's just see if this is working. Should be working. Not sure why that wasn't working. It actually may have been a bug with my Stream Deck. We'll end up cutting it off. Whatever. I hate not having an intro. I hate going in all flustered like this. Let's just hear if we hear Lewis Black's voice.
God damn it.
Yep, we do. Okay. So we'll fix that. Not sure what that was. Really sucks that happened. Whatever. We're here. We're live. I'm going to get over it. Lots of new little snippets regarding Epstein now that we have this posthumous release of the Virginia Giuffre autobiography called Nobody's Girl. There's definitely some disturbing aspects about her life that have never been shared on a mass level. However, at the same time, any of the names that you were hoping to get, you are not getting. Okay, that's a big thing. We're going to read some direct quotes from the book that are being reported by the press. I have not read the book. However, some of these quotes directly from the book, commingle with a lot of the things that we have discussed here on this show over the years. Full stop. Okay? And that is very, very important to acknowledge on what is actually going on and has been for some time. So, we also have Trump doubling down on the idea that he is going to sue the Wall Street Journal. We also have the continual denials of the administration that there is anything to these files whatsoever, despite the fact of basically all of them, including Trump himself, all the way back starting in 2015, running for the presidency, or I guess it would be 2016, running for the presidency, bringing it up with Sean Hannity and the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton. And now that's really all biting him in the ass. Okay, it's not looking good. We're going to play a quick clip of Rand Paul talking to Piers Morgan about the Epstein files. We did a video yesterday on Trump continually attacking people like Massey, who is at the forefront of trying to get the Epstein files released. And then, of course, Rand Paul, who is consistently anti-war. In fact, Trump even made a quip about Rand Paul today when they were over in Mar-a-Lago and at his home and said, just typical Trump stuff. There's somebody who isn't here, and it's Rand Paul. I'd probably let him come begrudgingly. Oh, would you? After all the kind words that he actually had to say about you, despite the fact that he ideologically disagrees with you on a multitude of issues that you said when you were running for office that you were for, and now you've swapped it out, from a sound economy, from checks and balances within those systems, from the release of the Epstein files, not just the Epstein files, but again, the RFK, the JFK files, right? And you're still gloating and bragging when we don't have all those files. And forget about the 9/11 files that you promised on Fox News that just suddenly seem to not even in the conversation. And then with the Kirk assassination happening on September 10th this year, it just took the entire wind out of the momentum the 9/11 truth movement had on the way up to that 24th anniversary, so much so that I haven't really even discussed parts 2, 3, and 4. I guess I discussed part 2 a little bit, but parts 3 and 4 of the Tucker Carlson 9/11 docuseries, which is 5 parts. They were all released on his website, but now they're in the public arena. I think that 5th and final part actually comes out this week. So we're going to be checking all those out. We're probably going to be doing a review on that. But this episode is definitely going to deal with some of the allegations that maybe haven't been out there. For instance, we've heard Ehud Barak again and again and again and again and again and again and again in regards to Epstein. However, this latest revelation from Virginia Giuffre Roberts strongly implies not only abuse of a sexual nature, but also physical abuse on top of that. Okay? So all of these things are extremely important to understand, because if you don't get it, okay, you're not going to understand what's actually happening. Okay? If you don't heed what Virginia Giuffre Roberts was talking about, so many people out there are continually discussing the idea that, Epstein himself was constantly running a brothel. That's not what was happening, but he was currying favor. It does seem like he was blackmailing people. The arms dealing seems to be just thrown out the entire window on this one. And that is another issue that we seem to have, okay? So, thumbs this video up, subscribe, share. Hopefully I sound okay. I don't see anybody saying that I don't sound okay. All right, that's here nor there, but I'm looking at my levels on one side. I'm not liking it. Something happened with that intro. Anytime there's a technical issue and I go live, it drives me absolutely insane. So thumbs it up, subscribe, share. Please consider supporting the broadcast with the links down below. $5, $10, $15. It does mean the world to me. The big donors could not do it without you. Buymeacoffee.com/Jason Bermas or the PayPal. We do want to thank Marigold Resources for supporting the broadcast. Buying and selling a business. Check out marigoldresources.com. They're good people. My friend Todd McGreevy heads it up. He also has his own River Cities Reader, rcreader.com, where it's a true independent media outlet. And you can even get paper copies in 2025. There's somebody out there providing actual physical copies of news, rcreader.com. Okay, so let's start it right here. In memoir, Virginia Giuffre Roberts accuses her father of abusing her, even suggests that he may have taken money from Epstein. Okay, so let's really peel this one back. Virginia Giuffre Roberts, who we see as a teenager with Prince Andrew, has basically talked about systematic abuse in her teenage years and beyond by Jeffrey Epstein, right in that 16, 17-year-old range. Now, this is the first time that I've heard of direct abuse from the father, in which her brother is actually quoted in this as confronting the father, who is denying this. Now, we'll get to the suicide of Virginia Giuffre Roberts, and I do believe it actually was a suicide. I know there are a lot of people out there that may disagree with that, but they didn't really do the research, unfortunately, on her past, on what had happened in that mysterious car wreck that seemed to not really even happen. It seemed to be a fender bender at best. It was not even clear whether Virginia Giuffre Roberts herself was there. Okay, so a lot of open questions when it comes in regards to that. Just throwing it out there, okay? And I think that's important to understand, because there's so many people out there that just automatically think they know what's happening and haven't looked, haven't really delved into the truth of that subject, okay? And I just want to read some of this verbatim here. I think it's really important. Flickoff says, Trump's neck looks like a butt. Now you can't unsee it. You're welcome. Oh, well, I'll tell you this, Flick. We've got plenty of Trump coming up in this as well. Don't you worry. Okay. Giuffre, 41, had been working on the book with a co-author before she died of suicide in April. In the memoir, she alleges that other men had abused her before she was groomed by Epstein at age 16. Now, this is something that Nick Bryant had talked about on this broadcast several times. She alleges that her experience with abuse began as early as 7 by her father. Her father denied the allegation, insisting that he never abused his daughter, and in a statement in the memoir, her father said he never knew what was going on with Epstein until he saw the news online. Giuffre's brother, Sky Roberts Jr., told NBC Haley Jackson that he confronted his father over the abuse allegation. I said, we know, he recalled, choking up. I mean, you were dad. You sexually abused your daughter. It's absolutely heinous what you did. Now, this is from the book, Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice. She says that Epstein showed her a photo of her younger brother then in middle school and told her to keep quiet about what goes on in this house. So it was a threat. She also suggested in her book that her father may have taken money from Epstein after he began abusing her. Her brother recalled that their father would buy decently nice things at points in their life, including a boat. There was a payment wired to him, like it would be disgusting. It would be disgusting that he accepted money. That would be Skylar Roberts said. The final years of Giuffre's life were marked by her repeatedly calling for criminal charges against Epstein and his associates. Epstein died by suicide in jail in 2019, shortly after he was arrested on federal sex trafficking charges. Now, one of the things about the father is the idea that Trump had the father working at Mar-a-Lago. And remember, Virginia Giuffre Roberts also working at the spa section of Mar-a-Lago. And Trump's on record saying a few times that it was Epstein who had poached employees more than once. And one of them was supposed to be Virginia Giuffre Roberts. In the documentation that's available, there seems to be this thank you letter from Trump directly to the father, who is supposedly, I believe, a cook or a janitor. I always mess that up. On the property. And with that story, they've kind of given a Trump a hero's halo, that he broke off the friendship with Epstein because Virginia Giuffre Roberts in particular, he saw there was inappropriate behavior or possibly abuse. We don't really know that. Now, Trump on record has said, hey, he was stealing employees. Maybe that's the reason why. There's also other reports out there of sour real estate business dealings in which Trump wanted to invest and then Epstein undercut him, all of which are possibilities. But now with this new revelation of a possible relationship, you know, the idea of somebody essentially allowing someone to abuse their child that they have abused, or even possibly pimping them out, that's another level of disturbing, another level of disgusting. And it has to be talked about. Now, Prince Andrew, of course, making his rounds in the news as well. Okay, and it's continuing. Questions about what Palace knew in Andrew scandal show no signs of going away. Yes, none of it's going away. All right. We also have these communications with Sarah Ferguson, the ex-husband of Prince Andrew, with Epstein. I believe it's after the prison release. The first was, they all knew. You know, this is in 2009. They all knew. And now, you know, the big news about Andrew is that he's been cut off from Charles. Folks, the thing time and time again that seems to be totally and completely ignored are the arms dealing aspects of all this. That Prince Andrew was an arms dealer, that Epstein was doing business with Adnan Khashoggi, who is an arms dealer. That at the same time that the relationship between Khashoggi and Epstein was revealed, and we'll get to Acosta in a minute, you had Vicky Ward coming out saying that Acosta, who was Trump's, what was it? He was one of the secretaries at the time. And now, see, that's eluding me. But he had to resign because he was the assistant attorney general, or I'm sorry, the attorney general in Palm Beach at the time, and cut that sweetheart deal, which he says wasn't a sweetheart deal. When he was directly confronted about the fact that he had said that he cut that deal because Epstein was intelligence, he didn't answer the question. He danced around it. Then the next day he had to resign. The arms dealing is at the center of this. It is an essential key to all of it. And just to remind people, and I'll bring these up really quick, and then we'll zoom it out, that arms is a huge part of this. Okay, first of all, you also had these new photographs with him in Riyadh, which we'll get to in a minute, with the new leader of Saudi Arabia. Way, way, way later after the arrest. Duh, because he never stopped doing business. Okay? Arms, harems, and Trump-owned yacht. How Adnan Khashoggi, how a Khashoggi family member helped mold the U.S.-Saudi relationship. And that is, of course, Adnan Khashoggi. You're seeing pictures of Jamal Khashoggi, obvious U.S. intel asset and supposed quote-unquote journalist. Arnon Milken. There's good old Robert. Do you see Robert De Niro with this severe TDS cursing on MSNBC about Trump all the time? Here's what he has to say about his arms dealing Israeli spy buddy in Hollywood.
You know that the years that you were doing King of Comedy and Once Upon a Time in America were perhaps the most dramatic years for him.
Yes.
In that respect.
Yes.
Did you notice anything back then?
I did ask him once, we spoke about something, and he told me that he was an Israeli and that he of course would do these things for his country. There's something with the things that trigger some nuclear thing. I remember at some point I had asked Arnon about that. Being friends, I was curious, but not in an accusatory way. I just wanted to know. And he said, "Yeah, I did. I'm Israeli. That's my country.
This got him into big trouble.
Yeah, and he gave me that answer, and I accepted it.
Almost.
Oh, you gave me that answer, and I accepted. He's dealing arms. He's an Israeli spy. No big deal. No big deal. Again, just accepted it. We celebrated it. How many people right now who are starting to be aware of this toxic relationship between nation states, blackmail, Israeli relationships in the Middle East, think this is a good thing? Not the only person. Sidney Pollack, big part of that, also a gun runner. Okay? So this is par for the course. You understand? It's just continual. Is par for, this is how things are done. This is how business is done. In fact, again, why did Jeffrey Epstein's private jet fly to Riyadh on the eve of the 2016 election? Why does he have all these pictures with the Saudis as well? Why does he have, when you have that New York raid, a Saudi Arabian address and passport? The passport itself not issued by Saudi Arabia either. Seems to be an Austrian passport. Just things that the media seems to not want to follow up on. And we're going to show this clip of Louis Black. Now, if you heard him talk, again, I'm still so frustrated when the tech isn't working in the manner that I want it to, or the manner I think it's supposed to be working. How about that? But we're going to play this clip, and this is the extended version of Louis Black talking about his time at the Jeffrey Epstein estate.
And they're underage, we're fucked.
Oh no!
So that's all.
You're next to Jeffrey Epstein in the cell. He's like, I got their age. I think they're good. Yeah.
And to boot, I was in Jeffrey Epstein's house once.
What?
Really?
Yes, with Bobby Slayton. I've got nothing. Yeah, this is
when they got up to go to the bathroom. Did he smell the seat?
No.
How was Jeffrey Epstein's house?
Unbelievable.
I mean, but what was the occasion?
Bobby Slayton, Woody Allen, and Sun Yi.
Oh my God!
Oh, this is like a Mad Libs.
Exactly.
Holy moly!
And again, Woody Allen still around. Big connection to Jeffrey Epstein. No one's really questioned that relationship enough. And you do wonder if Woody Allen has maybe had a special type of relationship with the nation state of Israel in regards to the likes of Milken and Pollock. I have no evidence of that, but they seem to be tight as can be, and they seem to be hanging out at the same time period in excess when he's also hanging out with Ehud Barak, who will be mentioned not at this party, but in a roundabout way as the Israeli defense minister, talking weapons systems with Jeffrey Epstein.
It is. That's a very good one. That's nice, man. There was Dick Cavett.
Wow.
And I can't think of his name. I can see him.
Harvey.
No.
Epstein, not a good guy, but he throws a hell of a dinner party.
Yeah.
Apparently. I mean, these are some good guests.
Good guess.
But it was, and then there was one other comic, and I can't remember as he's passed away.
Greg,
and it's another one.
Patrice, Louis Anderson,
No,
Norm, Bob, Saget, Gilbert.
No, it's nobody will reach.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's one further back. He was. I know. I remember he's married.
Not Richard Jeni.
No.
Freddie Roman, Alan King.
Gary, no. We could play. It sounds like.
Okay.
So
I
what's
think
going
it
on
began
with
with a
dinner?
G. And he was. I can tell you this. He was married to Ty Babylonia.
All right, that's all you need.
Yeah.
Ty Babylonia's husband.
And I can't think of who.
I think it ends up being David Brenner,
How do you get invited to Epstein's?
If fucking Slayton called me up and said, he really likes comics.
Randy Gardner. No, that's a figure skater.
That's the no.
All right.
no.
Brian Boitano.
Tanya Harding.
What?
He was a middle act.
What's the occasion for this?
It was that Bobby had gotten this. He had invited a bunch of, Epstein was like, let's go, let's get a bunch of hoo-has together. I mean,
Sure.
if you looked at the list of people he hung out with, so he liked Bobby's work, and then he said he wanted to meet me apparently, but Bobby goes, he's got really unbelievable wine. We're going to drink really great. I said, okay, fuck it. Now I know nothing about him.
Yeah.
It's David Brenner.
David Brenner.
Yeah.
Okay.
David
The
was
legend.
there.
Wow.
And he was really funny.
So funny to go to Epstein's place for wine.
Huh?
Ah,
Yeah. So it was. He
how old
said,
is bottles? 16 years?
Oh, it's big and funny. But again, I'm glad that Louis Black is being open about this experience, fully.
So I'm there. Nothing is. This is years ago. This is like 7 years before the shit hits the fan.
Oh, yeah.
And we're there, and it was just kind of wild. And then the capper of the evening is, at the very end, David Blaine shows up.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Can you make these charges disappear?
David Blaine, the magician that is more than likely mentioned by Thomas Massey when he grills Kash Patel, and Kash Patel looks like a child, quite frankly.
So he, that was our night. I'll tell you, there were young girls flitting about, but I didn't know, having not figured out anything on the Boyer bus about age, I had no idea. I didn't know how old or young they were.
Sure.
And there was a woman who was an older woman who was really, really attractive, and I thought she. I thought she was the one.
Yeah.
That was Epstein's, girlfriend. That's what I thought. And it was the kind of thing you go into when we got here. Here's it's weird from the beginning.
It's weird from the beginning. Here we go. Is he talking maybe international arms trade with you there, Louis Black?
Because it's like you go in and he's got a whiteboard and there's all of this stuff drawn on it. And he goes, you want me to tell you what that is? And I go, yeah, well, sure, Bobby and I. He goes, I had the Israeli defense minister here last night for dinner, and then he's got me and Bobby Slayton. I mean, what kind of a fucking, are you shitting me? And then he said, and so we were talking about, he was showing me what kind of defense systems Israel would use in case of attack.
Wow.
And I thought, you know what? First up, what is the Israeli defense minister? What the fuck is the matter? Why would you tell me this is already, now it's weird.
Yes.
Nothing else is weird, but I know this was like a honk, something is wrong in this house.
Sure.
This is a guy who's working on his defense many years before.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Right.
So, we discussed earlier new parts of this memoir that basically say that she was, brutally abused and choked unconscious by the Prime Minister of Israel, a.k.a. Ehud Barak. Okay? So let's just read some of this. Family, this is not gossip. It's a survivor's words on the record. Virginia Giuffre's posthumous memoir, Nobody's Girl, is being reported with verbatim passages that describe a well-known prime minister who, she writes, brutally assaulted her when she was 18. And again later on Epstein's jet. In prior court filings, she pointed to Ehud Barak. Barak has repeatedly denied her claims and denies any knowledge of trafficking. That tension between a survivor's detailed account and a former head of government's denial is a matter of public interest and accountability, not tabloid curiosity. Okay? According to the Post, quoting the memoir directly, Giuffre writes that a well-known prime minister arred me more savagely than anyone had before, repeatedly choked her until she lost consciousness, and laughed while she begged for her life. When she ran to Jeffrey Epstein pleading not to be sent back, his answer was ice cold. You'll get that sometimes. Yeah, just part of the normal behavior of these people. The article notes her earlier filings, pointing to Ehud Barak among elites, says that he was taking part in this. Barak has repeatedly denied these allegations. Now, not many people know about this video. Hopefully you can find the raw video on my X account. Give me a follow at Jason Bermas and share that with people. I think that it is something that needs to be drawn to attention so people can understand that it's more than just the abuse of these girls. It's more than just a list that doesn't exist. Okay? It is a network, a high-level network of people that use other people and sometimes children as things. While they cut deals on systems that will kill more people and they will make hundreds of millions and maybe billions of dollars on. No big deal. No big deal. So, Speaker Mike Johnson says that he will not block a House vote to release the Epstein files. As I said before, Rand Paul, who we're going to get to in a moment, and Thomas Massie helping to lead the charge on getting these Epstein files into the public arena. And Mike Johnson has now stated that he would not prevent a vote on legislation to make the Jeffrey Epstein's files public, even as the chamber remained out of session for a fourth straight week. Johnson has kept the House of Representatives in recess ever since the shutdown began at the start of the month, after Democrats and Republicans failed to reach an agreement on extending government funding beyond the end of September. That has had the knockoff effect of delaying the success of a legislative maneuver known as a discharge petition to force a vote on a bill that would make public documents from the federal investigation into Epstein. Now, I wonder, even with this bill, what we're actually going to get. But I love the fact that there are individuals continually pushing for the truth. And Bill Clinton is very, very involved in this Epstein case. Okay? So, a Republican-led congressional committee is seeking testimony from former Democratic President Bill Clinton as part of its investigation into the finances, or the financier and top offender, Jeffrey Epstein. Its chairman said Tuesday. Representative James Comer of Kentucky, chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, told reporters the panel was working on arranging a closed-door interview with Clinton. We love these closed-door interviews. They just produce so much. Now, the thing is, you can have all these interviews in the world, But unless you're going to have some type of criminal accountability, right? Unless you're going to take this interview and cross-reference it with factual information and then actually charge the guy, what's the point? You know, there's that famous, we're going to do it live. See, I wonder if I press the do it live thing, can you even hear it?
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
That worked no problem. But for some reason, my intro music just did not want to work. Oh, just, grr. I really hate it when things do not come up, Millhouse. We're going to fix that. So we're going to do this live. Bill Clinton massage on plane, right? It's a 2002 photo. Here it is. Here's that. You know, again, we like to do everything live. It's this one right here. And everybody thinks that this is some kind of Epstein photograph. As far as I know, it's not. Okay? Instead, I believe this is from Ron Burkle and Air F1. So let's type in massage on plane. Let's type in Ron Burkle. And many people don't know about, there he is. Here's Ron Burkle, right? Get out of his relationship with the Clintons. Oh, look at that. So here's another guy, and I'm not saying, you know, he's an Epstein, but he's certainly been accused of certain things. All right? And when I was watching that Tulsa King show, when I was traveling on the road, I haven't been watching a lot of TV, but I keep seeing Ron Burkle's name, and that's all I can think of is that Clinton photograph, okay? Just throwing that out there. So, as I stated, Virginia Giuffre's memoir drops clues about Epstein clients, but gives few names. And there's the cover of it, Nobody's Girl. I'm sure it's going to end up being a bestseller. Earlier in the week, we also discussed the fact that Walter Cronkite seems to have visited the island. A couple of the names are blacked out with Jeffrey Epstein, I believe in 2007 at the ripe old age of 91. Okay? And we also now have these new emails, because again, the House Oversight Committee is releasing new stuff. Like I said, there is some new stuff. Shed new light on Leon Black's ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Isn't that something? And Leon Black is accused by Vicky Ward of squashing her investigative reporting all those years ago on Epstein. A recent New York Times investigation reveals additional information about private equity billionaire and Museum of Modern Art trustee Leon Black's relationship with deceased convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein, including details behind major art deals made as a part of an alleged tax avoidance scheme. It has long been known that Black made payments of approximately $170 million to Epstein, which Black said were for tax and estate planning services, but previously, unreported emails and documents acquired by the Times also reveal the way in which Epstein wielded influence on Black and often demanded more. Folks, the art world is a place for massive money laundering. You wonder why a banana taped to a wall, sells for millions. Money laundering, corrupt backdoor dealings, illicit payments. It's a big joke to these people. According to the report, the disgraced financier played a role in concealing Black's long-term extramarital affair with Russian former model Gazelle Ganavia, who later accused Black of assault. Black has denied the assault allegations. Black reportedly paid Ganavia nearly $10 million under an agreement that prevented her from publicly disclosing their relationship. The documents, the Times said, go on to show how Epstein was tasked with assessing the tax implications of those payments, some of which were framed as loans. You see how it works? Oh, we got a little dirt on you. Don't worry, we're here to help. We're here to help. Now, 4 key questions actually out of the Independent about Jeffrey Epstein that Virginia Giuffre's tell-all memoir fails to answer. And like I said, the names are not really there. They've been in the public arena for a long time. But here we go. What happened to Epstein's surveillance tapes? This is an extremely important part right here. Trump's FBI and Justice Department attempted to draw a line under the conspiracy theories surrounding the Epstein case with a joint statement in July. The Bureau said an internal review of the government's holdings on the pedophile concluded that he left behind no client list. There is no client list. That's actually true. Of his influential friends, and that there was no reason to suspect he did not end his own life in jail. That's ludicrous. In September, FBI Director Kash Patel testified to the House and Senate Judiciary Committee that his organization had released everything that had been lawfully permitted to be released. Whatever that means. Whatever that means. That doesn't mean we have all the files or the truth, by the way. Offering a reflection on Epstein and accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell's motives, Giuffre writes, and this is in the book, one theory is that they traffic girls to some of their influential acquaintances in the hope of being owed future favors. In other words, to curry favor, as I've said. Another theory, which is supported by the fact that Epstein houses were all outfitted with video cameras in every room, is that he wanted to record men in compromising positions in order to blackmail them later. I don't know if that is true, but I do know that Epstein kept a huge library of videotapes that had been recorded inside his houses. In the Manhattan townhouse, Epstein himself showed me the room in which he monitored and recorded camera feeds. Now look, she's not the only victim to state that. And we know, there is no doubt about it, that he had these huge binders. All right, now, do the binders have photographs in them? Do they have burned DVDs? Do they have a combination? Because there's some burned DVDs. We know about the hard drives. They're right there. Okay? And then this is Bradley Edwards, who represented many of these women in front of literally boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of documents related to the case. Okay, again, this stuff is simply not discussed enough, and we have an ample amount of this evidence right in front of us. Okay, now as far as Trump goes, I want to hit this really quickly, and then we're going to play Rand Paul and then Marjorie Taylor Greene discussing this. I hadn't seen this, and none of this is making Trump look good. You know, he can continually try to downplay it and deny it, but there's this new memorial out inside of the Capitol with Trump holding hands with Epstein, playing right into their deal. Look, this is the backlog. It's in the National Mall. I would imagine it's probably, it looks like it would be extremely heavy. It's probably extremely light so they could move it around, as obviously it's not a sanctioned statue. But not helping the guy, I'll tell you that. And then I just had to bring this up. Rumors of him commuting Sean Diddy Combs, also not great. Now, the White House is saying there's zero truth to those rumors, but he didn't help himself when someone asked him about Diddy and a pardon, and he brought up Ghislaine Maxwell and a pardon. Okay? Then none of that stuff helps him. So without further ado, let's get the thumbs up, subscribe, and share. Hey, you want to super chat it up? That also helps if you're watching it live. Remember, the Buy Me a Coffee and the PayPal are down below. Really could use that support. Let's play Rand really quickly here on Piers Morgan.
What is your view of the Epstein scandal and what should happen next?
I voted to release the Epstein files. We had a vote about 2 weeks ago in the Senate, and I was one of only a handful of Republicans who did so. But I've always thought that in order to have trust in government and trust in the justice that is meted out by government, that we have to believe that justice is impartial, that it's colorblind to your ethnicity, but also blind to how wealthy you are. And if the notion becomes prominent and accepted that wealthy people are treated differently than the ordinary people, that justice is somehow skirted if you're wealthy, I think that's a really bad signal to send to the public. And so I think if we want the public to believe that justice is the same for everyone, we have to make sure that all the information comes forward and that rich people weren't given a bypass or a pass on this scandal. So I haven't been really involved with all the details of it. I don't know what's going to be turned up from it, but I think it should be transparent so people can regain trust in the justice system.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, but there is no trust in the justice system, nor should there be, because there are different levels to this game. Period. There are people that are above the law. Period. And this does illustrate it in spades. It's not a good thing. Okay? And there's no reason to have trust in government. I mean, that's essentially the bottom line when you get into this case. And it's unfortunate. With that being said, we've talked about Massey. We've talked about Rand Paul. Marjorie Taylor Greene is far, far from perfect, okay? But she is still one of the better people in government right now. Yeah, I don't like the Cruella de Vil outfits, wearing them at the State of the Union. I think some of the stuff she's posted on social media is ridiculous. But as far as mainline politicians go, she's well off on the reservation, or well off the reservation, and she's one of the better people in the Epstein case. So here's a recent appearance of her on the BBC.
Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, a prominent figure in Donald Trump's Make America Great Again movement, and who is one of the leading voices calling for the release of the Epstein files. Marjorie Taylor Greene, thank you for talking to our British audience. First of all, your reaction to what you've just heard from Amy Wallace.
Absolutely mesmerizing. I did my best to listen to every word, and I'm very much looking forward to reading Virginia Giuffre's memoirs.
Why do you think the Epstein files haven't been released so far?
That's something that I don't know the answer to, but it baffles me. To me, this is the easiest one to do. This is standing up for women and children who are raped, who are victims of sex trafficking. And this is for victims that are facing horrible consequences right now due to abuse. And I can't understand why this has been seemingly the biggest fight in Washington, D.C. It certainly shouldn't be. It's a general consensus across America that most people don't understand why these files haven't been released and fully support them being released. And that's why I've done everything I can from I work on the Oversight Committee. I'm participating in the current investigation we're doing in the House on the Oversight Committee into the Epstein case. But I also signed my name on a discharge petition in the House to release the files.
Yes.
I think it's the most common sense thing to do, and it's the right thing to do.
And obviously, your president, Donald Trump, campaigned for his second term, saying he would release them. Do you think he has something to hide?
I don't think so, because I've talked to so many of the women who are just lovely women, and they've all praised President Trump. Their attorney even said he was the only person that helped them. And so Let
me just stop it right there. Listen, Bradley Edwards has come out and said it was that's the person who was in front of those boxes. And they all play dumb, like, oh, we just don't get it. Too many powerful people doing too many corrupt things, too much involvement with the U.S. and the Israeli government, too much arms dealing going down. And I'm sorry, you can talk Trump all you want. When it comes down to it, in those issues, he has been very pragmatic to keep the system alive. And when it comes to the real America Firsters, Massey and Rand Paul, he is attacked. By the way, Flick Off says, complacent list or compromised list would be far more accurate than client. Correct. Would be far more accurate. Let's get back to MTG.
None of them have accused him, and I think he has nothing to hide. I just don't understand it myself. And you know what? You want to know something? Pretty much everyone campaigned on release the Epstein files.
But Donald Trump has recently described the files as a Democrat hoax. Is he wrong?
That's what he said. Here's the thing, though, is all the women have said that he never did anything wrong, and their attorney said that Donald Trump was the only one that helped them.
Okay, so what's going on there, Marjorie Taylor Greene? What do you think is going on there? Because he campaigned saying he would release them if he became president. He could make this happen.
Well, this is something you have to ask the president.
Well, I just say this. He really didn't campaign on that. Okay? Other people came out and said it for him. You had the Muskernuts saying that this imaginary list was going to be released. You had Kash Patel on a podcast tour. You had Bongino on a podcast tour. You had Bondi on a podcast tour. All of them. But the one time that Trump was actually confronted about it, he was extremely timid. Extremely timid and non-committal. Just point that out.
Of the United States. I certainly I don't speak for him. But my understanding is that for some reason this is not being released, and I don't understand why. And so that's why I'm doing my part as a representative in the House of Representatives to support the women and, of course, victims everywhere.
The Deputy Attorney General has met Ghislaine Maxwell in her prison on 2 separate occasions. What do you think is going on there?
I think they went looking for information, but this woman she's a liar. She's convicted for the crimes that she committed. So I think you have to take at face value anything she says. But also, I don't think that we should care what
I think she misspoke there. You don't take at face value anything she says. And the reason that they put her in that position was for a whitewash of the situation and to continue to keep her mouth shut. And then they moved her to a separate prison facility. All of this is very, very obvious.
She has to say. I think the information needs to come out. Not only the information that the FBI has, but also the information that the CIA has. And I would also call on other foreign countries, one being your own, the UK, to release any information that your country has on the Epstein files, as well as Israel or any other ally that we have that may have classified information on Jeffrey Epstein and the people he surrounded himself with that had abused these women, as well as maybe any type of business deals that he had.
Okay.
There's a lot of
I wouldn't hold my breath.
things that don't make sense there, and I think many countries could release information.
You probably heard Amy Wallace a few moments ago calling on Prince Andrew to step forward and explain what he knows, who he saw in those mansions, on those jets, on that island. Would you agree with her?
Absolutely, I agree with her. Prince Andrew should step forward. Our former president, Bill Clinton, should step forward. He was on that plane, I think, over 26 times and visited the island. I would say anyone that was a witness to what was going on, the best thing they can do is to come forward and tell what they saw. But this is so important for victims.
And remember, it's not one island. It's at least 2 islands. Jeffrey Epstein is on record himself telling Steve Bannon that. Then Bannon goes, islands of Dr. Moreau. Another big reason we're not hearing about all this is the eugenics and transhumanist aspects of it. Goes deep. You got money laundering with art deals. You got arms deals. You got transhumanism. I haven't heard Zorro Ranch mentioned. Remember, Zorro Ranch was a place both of the Clintons allegedly frequented a ton.
Of rape and victims of human trafficking. And if we as Americans, because I'll speak on behalf of my country, if we as Americans don't hold our government accountable when victims come forward and they tell law enforcement they've been raped and they tell who did it, it shouldn't matter how powerful or how rich these people are. They should be held accountable.
And it's interesting, you mentioned public support for the release of the files a little earlier. I was looking at one poll today, almost 3/4 of Americans and 67% of Republicans want the files out there. It's unusual for Donald Trump to be on the wrong side of the public, isn't it?
Well, I'm no surprise at those numbers. I'll tell you something interesting. I track all the calls that come into my office. And even today, calls were coming into my office saying, release the Epstein files. People call in every single day. No matter what issue is going on in the news here in America, people still call my office every single day and express support for releasing the Epstein files.
This is the issue that goes well beyond left or right, Democrat or Republican. All right, don't get me wrong. There are those with the severe TDS that are trying to make this into a political tool, but most people are just on the peripheral of this. And this is the issue that has crossed the Rubicon, if you will, because people don't like the abuse of children. They don't like seeing Hollyweird and political elites getting away with this type of behavior, full stop. So, folks, that is going to wrap this one up. Let's thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. All that helps right now. We're back in the mix on YouTube. Would not have been able to do it without you guys. Still can't do it without you guys. Please consider supporting the broadcast via the Buy Me a Coffee. Big ups to Flick for the couple of super chats that you gave. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Big donors. There's also a PayPal. If this is the type of information that you're not seeing anywhere else that you want to continue to see, please consider supporting this broadcast, because it is not about left or right. It is always about right and wrong. I absolutely love you guys, and I will see you all on the flip side.